Check. It made for an unusual sight. The former and current Princesses of Equestria and the Crystal Empire all gathered around a small table for a common game of poker. Yet this was no ordinary game, and the stakes would have shocked the common pony. Cadence flicked a glance at Twilight, trying to read something in her vacant expression. Unfortunately, the youngest member of the group had gotten much better at bluffing over the years. If she was giving something away, Cadence couldn't make it out, and she promised not to use her empathic abilities to cheat. Turning her eyes back to her own cards, she sighed internally. Check. To her left, Celestia tapped the table, indicating she also wanted to check. That left Luna. The Luna Princess hadn't even picked up her cards after the first glance, instead preferring to stare out the window behind Cadence. Sister? Bet, Luna replied, still not looking at the game. She levitated a stack of chips towards the center of the table. 100. The other three exchanged looks. Call, Twilight responded, matching Luna's stack of chips with one of her own. Fold, Cadence said. With nothing in her hand and only a pair of 6s and an 8 on the table available for use, she wasn't willing to risk wiltering down her meager pool of remaining chips on a whim. Celestia stared at her sister, eyes narrowed. Cadence imagined she could hear the gears grinding in that ancient cunning mind, a mind that sometimes had proven too clever for its own good. She wondered whether that would be the case today. Call, Celestia finally said. Luna, who was dealing, flipped over another card for the table. Cadence immediately felt relief. A king would have been no help to her. She looked over at Twilight. In contrast to her earlier mask, Cadence noticed a slight loosening of Twilight's jaw. A good thing or a bad thing? Check, Twilight said. Celestia set her cards down. Bet 200. Raise, Luna immediately replied. 400. Cadence was even more glad she folded when she did. The mood in the room had shifted considerably. It was clear that after 3 hours of play, every pony was eager to end it. Besides, the festivities would be starting soon. Twilight and Celestia were both quick to match the raise, and Luna followed by flipping the last card, a 9. Check, Twilight said. Cadence noted that her jaw had tightened again. Check, Celestia followed. Luna's magic pushed a small mountain of chips into the pot. Bet 1,000. Cadence expected Twilight to fold. She had to go all in to match Luna's bet, and if Cadence was reading what she thought Twilight's tell might be, she suspected the last card had not been to her benefit. Twilight, however, just smiled. Call. If the mood had been cool before, it was now downright frigid. Celestia stared at the mountain of chips in the pot, then made a show of checking her cards one more time before smiling. Grabbing all her remaining chips, she shoved them into the center. Raise 5,060. Now Luna turned her attention from the window. Her teal eyes were filled with barely contained amusement as she fixed her gaze on her sister, a hint of a grin playing at her lips. Would you care to make things more interesting? Celestia's white teeth flashed in response. What did you have in mind, Lulu? I'll match your raise, and I'll throw in something else. Oh? If I win, you have to change the linens in a house for a year. Celestia winced, and Cadence could understand why. The two sisters hated changing linens, especially given the sizes involved. Magic could only help so much where elastic and mattresses were involved. And if I win, the same for you? Luna nodded, still grinning. Deal. Both of them apparently had forgotten Twilight was still in the game, but the ruler of Equestria seemed content with that fact, which made Cadence suspicious. Either she's got the best hand ever, or she's got some other motive in mind. Alright, time to show your cards, Luna said. She gestured to Celestia. The Sun Princess smiled, turning her cards over one at a time to reveal that she had a full house. Not bad, Luna replied, her smile fading. Really, a good hand any other time. Celestia's face fell as Luna flipped her own cards over, revealing a pair of sixes, giving her 4 of a kind. Now remember, Tia, I prefer all the pillowcases changed with every wash, not just the ones I use. It's best to... She was cut off as a 10 and a 7 flopped on top of her cards. What? She began before her eyes processed what she was seeing. Straight flush, Twilight said, looking for all the world like the cat that ate the canary. Now, since the both of you lost, that means you have to go to the gala. The two eldest alicorns were expressions of shock and disappointment. In addition, since you forgot to ask me if I wanted to make things interesting, I think I get to decide how I want to collect on that bet. Right, Cadence? Of course, Cadence replied, always amused to pull a light prank on her aunt. Celestia's eyes narrowed. What do you have in mind? I'll let you both out of going to the gala. Deal! Luna and Celestia said in unison. Twilight smiled again, raising a hoof. In exchange for changing my sheets for a year. You have staff to do that, Twilight! Luna started to point out, but Celestia winced. She doesn't actually. The eldest princess looked apologetic. I signed a decree that required Twilight to clean her own room for the first 10 years of her rule. And wouldn't you know, there's still a year left on that decree, Twilight replied. And since the two of you agreed... Cadence was fighting not to giggle at the looks on her aunt's faces. Celestia in particular looked like she'd just sucked on a lemon. Very well, Celestia finally said. In exchange for not going to the gala, we will change your sheets monthly. Weekly, Twilight replied. You can alternate. There was some collective grumbling at this, but they relented. Excellent. Twilight stood, motioning for Cadence to do the same. Now, if you'll excuse us, we need to prepare for the gala. Pinky's catering, and I hear DJ Pone 3 has an especially good set list planned for this year. You got a DJ? Celestia looked shocked. The pink one is catering? Luna asked, a burble coming up from her stomach. Oh, did I fail to mention that I made the gala into the hottest party of the year? Twilight grinned. Must have slipped my mind. Oh well, maybe next time. Come on, Cadence. Time for us to paint the town red. I can't wait, Cadence replied, winking at her aunt as they turned to leave. See you both later. The sound of two sisters starting to squabble was cut off just as the door closed. As they walked, Twilight started to giggle, softly at first, though it quickly grew into a real laugh that required her to stop, bracing against one wall of the palace as she let whatever was amusing her work through her system. Cadence watched all this with a mixture of amusement and confusion. Sure, Twilight had pulled off a decent prank, but it didn't seem to be that funny. Finally, calming enough to resume walking, Twilight wiped away a few tears before saying, "How long do you think it'll be before they realize I didn't actually say they couldn't attend the gala?" Cadence rapidly thought back. "Oh, you sneaky little mare!" Twilight grinned. "We can giggle about it more while we sample the treats. Come on, I'll lead you to the kitchen." And this concludes my final reading. Well, my final reading for now, Repony. Sorry, I probably should have said that first. Anyway, I just wanted to make a little announcement saying that this story will be my final reading as of right now. This is only so that I can mainly focus on doing everything for October. It's still in production, there's still plenty of things that need to be done. So, to mediate things, I won't be doing narrations for a good while. If nothing else, that's also why I've been doing ASMR primarily for the last couple of posts. ASMR and comic dubs will be primarily uploaded, so some content will still be released on the channel. It's just in the background. Things for October are fully in swing, and it's pretty much the main focus. So don't worry. I'm not ending my channel. I'm not stopping narrations entirely. It's just a temporary stop while the big event is being prepared for. Honestly, this might happen again when February rolls around as well, but I don't know about that just yet, so when the time comes, I will let you know. But for right now, I am stopping all narrations, so I do hope you look forward to more ASMR and comic dubs as they roll out. And definitely look forward to October, because Sanctuary, me, and the whole team are putting together something spooktacular for you. And no, I am not sorry for that pun. Support me on Patreon and Ko-fi. Links in the description. Thanks for listening, and be sure to subscribe. Good night, every pony.